Hi, this is Das from Das Edu. In the last class, we have discussed about the electrocardiogram and I have started with the mechanical heart pumping along with the electrical activity or the particular electrical conduction pathway of the heart, where I have shown the ECG wave shape, general ECG wave shape, along with the some case where the ST segment depression. Okay, so I have showed already that there was some blockage, some cardiac ischemia was happening, and the ST segment was going down, and this was called ST segment depression. If the condition is much more worse, much more critical, patient was having chest pain. Now, instead of going this particular ST segment much more depressed, it was getting elevated. So there was some confusion, some contradiction over there. Okay, so in more acute condition, ST segment should go lower, but it was coming up in actual, and the particular condition for the physician is going much more confused. Okay, so now right today I'll continue discussion on the ECG's first law, and which is Einthoven's law, whatever. So this is the particular ST segment I had taken. Last day I forgot to show this particular slide, as the ST segment should be the straight line like this, the green line, okay, in the normal condition. But while this was cardiac ischemia, that means this condition, while some blockage was there, the ST segment was going down like the yellow line, but while much more ischemic condition, this was coming up in the red line. So this was the particular condition. I forgot actually last day to show you these guys. Okay, so now today I'll start discussion on Einthoven's law of ECG, which is the basement of ECG measurement. Okay, so in the very first day, while I was discussing about the biomedical instrumentation, what is biomedical instrumentation, I had shown one diagram where Dr. Einthoven was putting his both the hands and left leg in some bucket of which was filled up with saline water, and he was taking his ECG and was transmitting through some biotelemetry technique. Okay, so that particular diagram, Einthoven firstly took his own ECG by that particular process of putting down his both the legs and both the hands and one left leg at the bucket to see what the ECG was going on. So as per Einthoven, this is left side, this is the human body, I suppose I have drawn. Okay, now as per Einthoven's right arm RA, left arm LA, and left leg LL was put inside the bucket. Okay, as per the diagram, if you can remind, please. Okay, so right arm, left arm, and left leg, there should be some electrodes such that this particular type of triangle will form, and the voltages from the right arm to left arm to be denoted as V1. Okay, from left arm to left leg, the voltage component will be V3, and from right arm to left leg, the voltage component should be V2. Okay, so this is the assumption as per Einthoven, and as per Einthoven, the voltage components V1 plus V3 is equal to V2, which basically follows the vector addition. Okay, so there should be, as per Einthoven, left arm electrode, okay, LA electrode, right arm electrode, RA electrode, and left leg electrode, LL electrode. These are sufficient for taking measurement of ECG as per Dr. Einthoven. Okay, so this was his assumption. Now, as per Einthoven, this particular triangle is basically some equilateral triangle was forming, where at the center there was a source of voltage source V, with respect to angle alpha with the horizontal direction like this. Okay, now with this particular voltage source, he had considered these voltage components V1, V1, V3 and V2. Okay, so now what is V1? If the triangle is supposed to be A, B and C, A is the left arm, B is the right arm and C is the left leg. Okay, so the voltage component was acting from the right arm to left arm, and the component name was V1 as per Einthoven. Okay, so over here V1 is from right arm to left arm, where V is the source of voltage which is having one minima and one maxima with respect to making an angle alpha with respect to the horizontal direction. Okay, now the assumptions of Einthoven is that three electrodes, namely left arm, right arm and left leg, form an equilateral triangle. Okay, at the center there is a voltage source V at an angle alpha with respect to horizontal direction, right arm to left arm, right arm to left arm. Okay, so right arm to left arm. So as per his consideration, this voltage component V1's value will be nothing but V1 cos alpha. Okay, so is this clear? Now, finding the second voltage component, to find out V2, we have to consider like this. This is the right arm B, left arm A, left leg C. Okay, and there was the particular dipole, single dipole, which is a voltage source at an angle alpha over like here. Now, as it is a equilateral triangle forming over here, okay, so if this angle is alpha, I suppose this angle is theta, then obviously this angle will be 60 degree, as the outer circle being an equilateral triangle. Okay, obviously this angle will be 60 degree, as you know. So the V2 was acting in the from right arm B to left leg C. Okay, so V3 is acting downward. Okay, so as V2 is acting downward, so now let us calculate this particular triangle over here. That means alpha plus theta plus 60 is equal to 180. Okay, this triangle, this smaller triangle, alpha plus theta plus 60 is equal to 60 degree, as and the three angles of any triangle makes 180 degree obviously, such that this theta will become 120 degree minus alpha. This theta will become 120 degree minus alpha. Okay, so now if I find out this value of theta, why I am finding out this theta? Because V2 is equal to minus of V cos theta, right? V2 will be equal to minus of V cos theta. Why minus? As the main voltage source, is acting at the upward side, but the V2 voltage component is going downward side. So obviously this will be some minus. Okay, so this is getting some minus polarity. So now, as on the previous calculation, I got the value of theta is equal to 120 degree minus alpha. Okay, so now I'll replace the value of theta with 120 degree minus alpha, such that I get minus of V cos 120 degree minus alpha. No confusion. Okay, so now if we expand this, I'll get V cos 120 degree cos alpha plus sine 120 degree sine alpha. Putting the values of cos 120 and sine 120, I get minus half and plus root 3 by 2. So after all, I get the value of V3 is equal to minus of V into minus of 1 by 2 cos alpha plus 3 by root 3 by 2 sine alpha. Okay, such that I get the value of V2 is equal to V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sine alpha. I am taking the V, multiplying by V with each of the components. Okay, so I got the value of V2 finally as V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sine alpha. That's all right. Now if we find out the third voltage component, okay, third voltage component is the V3, which was acting downward. That means from left arm to left leg. Okay, so this was the equilateral triangle, and this particular V3 voltage is acting downward, where the main voltage component V was acting at the upward direction. Okay, at the upward direction and making an angle alpha with respect to the horizontal line. Okay, so I get the calculation over here, being this particular outer triangle is an equilateral triangle as per Einthoven. I get the values. This theta plus this alpha will become the outer angle of this particular triangle is 60 degree. Okay, while I am finding this theta, because at making angle this theta, this V3 is acting downward. Okay, so if I find the value of this theta, then my task is over to get or to calculate this V3. Okay, so to find out this theta, I am to calculate that alpha plus theta is equal to 60 degree. Okay, such that this theta becomes 60 minus alpha. So now as V3 is working downward, but the main voltage component V was acting upward. So the calculation to find out V3 again becomes V3 is equal to minus of V cos theta. Okay, so the theta is this angle, and minus y minus main component V was acting at the upward direction, V3 at the downward direction. So I will consider this V3 as minus of V into cos theta. Now as the value of theta we have found out is already 60 minus alpha. Okay, so I'll put the value of theta is 60 minus alpha. Okay, so now I'll expand this formula of cos 60 minus alpha. I'll get cos 60 cos alpha plus sine 60 sine alpha. Now again putting values of cos 60 is half and sine 60 is root 3 by 2. I get the value is equal to minus V half of cos alpha plus root 3 by 2 sine alpha. Okay, such that I'll get finally, after multiplying V with both the components, I get minus V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sine alpha, so that the value of V3 I get minus of V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sine alpha. Okay, so now I'll sum all these voltage components as per Einthoven. As per Einthoven, it was V1 plus V3 was equal to V2. Okay, let us recheck what Einthoven assumed is that V1 plus V3 is equal to V2. Now let us take at the left hand side, I'll take V1 plus V3. Okay, V1's value was V1 cos alpha, nothing but, okay, V1's value was what? V1's value was from here. V1's value was, I got V cos alpha. Okay. Then V3's value I got as minus V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sin alpha. I have replaced over here minus V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V. There should be a V sin alpha. Okay, it was my mistake whatsoever. So I'll get V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V. Again, I missed it, sin alpha. And you can check that V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sin alpha, this one V by 2 cos alpha minus root 3 by 2 V sin alpha was the value of V2, and the value of V2 exactly I have got after adding V1 plus V3, okay, such that I get V1 plus V3 is equal to V2. Okay, hence Einthoven has proved his calculation, and this particular calculation is as per Einthoven, and he has proved that his law of ECG was all right. Was it all right? What do you say, guys? Let us criticize this model right now, whether he was correct or not. Firstly, his assumption was of 3 leads forming an equilateral triangle. Okay, but if you in practice put the both hands and leg like that, okay, that particular triangle of left arm, right arm and left leg will not form any equilateral triangle, but it will form an oblique triangle, okay, or Berger triangle, whatever you may call. So his first assumption of being an equilateral triangle is a wrong assumption. So how, with a wrong assumption on a model can stand? First question. Second assumption, with the equilateral triangle, if it be, the human body should be homogeneous, uniform and isotropic as per Einthoven. Okay, which cannot be. Human body is never homogeneous or uniform or never isotropic also. So his second assumption is again completely false. Why? The property of lungs, the property of spinal cord all have different conducting property. So it is never homogeneous. The human body is never homogeneous, uniform and isotropic. So this is again a wrong assumption. Okay. So the second, both the assumptions are wrong. Now the third assumption, as per Einthoven, there was a single dipole was acting. At the downside it was one negative and the upside it was positive. That means one minima, one maxima. That means one single dipole was working with an angle alpha with respect to the horizontal direction as per Einthoven's assumption. But the contour mapping on isopotential lines or equipotential lines reveals that there is multiple dipole, which we call a multipole. That means there are more than one minima and one maxima. Okay, so his third assumption is also incorrect. But how this particular model is right? But this law is correct, and this is the one law which cannot be changed, and the law is fixed or invariant law of ECG, such that V1 plus V3 is equal to V2, where the left hand variables are independent that means V1 and V3 are the independent variables and V2 is the dependent variable. So, however, all the three assumptions as per Einthoven was mistake or false or wrong. Still, this model is the one of the most base model, and upon this model some more ECG models has been found out. Okay, so this law is correct and this one is cannot be changed. This law is fixed. Okay, so with this particular model, there are in future some more models has been developed, which I'll try to show in next classes. Okay, whatever. So though Einthoven's all the assumptions were wrong, depending upon which this model was built up, but the law is invariant law. Okay, how? Nobody knows. This is again a contradiction. Now, if you miss one of these particular left arm, right arm, or left leg electrode, okay, your ECG will be a vague. Okay, so these three leads is a must, otherwise your ECG is not complete. Okay, so that was the first law of ECG, which is based upon Dr. Einthoven. Okay, so if there is any question, guys, you may put the question on my email ID has been mentioned in the description section. Okay, if you like these particular classes, like on the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, thank you guys, thank you very much, thank you for your time.